All right, I know we've gone over pasta a few times. I know lots of people make pasta and it's not that exciting, but I thought I would make a little pasta video for you guys regardless, just so you can see what the deal is. Just remind you some of the stuff, and then I'll actually make a really nice mushroom and chev filling, and then we'll go over how to roll it, how to fill it, how to seal it, and then we'll cook some up and see how it is. I have my Anita's unbleached white. So I've been making bread with it all week. There's lots of protein in it. It works really well for me. So this is what I'm gonna use to make pasta. So 450 grams of a high protein flour, 5 eggs, a little bit of olive oil, and some salt. That's basically all we do. So I'm gonna crack my eggs just to make my life a little bit easier. I'll just crack them into this bowl. So I've got them. I'm sure you'll notice in other videos that I don't crack on the side of a bowl. And the reason I do that is when I crack on the side of the bowl, I've got actually like an indent inside of my egg, and then I personally find it's a little easier to get shells in my egg. I find when I just crack on a hard surface and use my fingers to open it up, I rarely, if ever, get any eggshells in my eggs. So got all that ready. What you want to do is dome your high protein flour on your table. Then you want to make a well. That is exactly how it sounds. So I'm just going to make an opening. In this opening here, I'm going to add my eggs, and I'm going to add a little bit of salt, and I'm going to add some olive oil. So it looks like I might need it a little bigger. There we go. There's my eggs. Make sure you've made a well big enough to hold your eggs, otherwise they're spilling all over the place and you'll regret it almost immediately. So again, I've got this really amazing sea salt from True North on Vancouver Island. So just a little pinch of sea salt. And I need 15 mils or 1 tablespoon of olive oil, and I'm just gonna eyeball that. So that's perfect. Now to start it, because it's so easy to spill, I like to do a few things. One is I'll just break my yolks, and then I start whisking it inside as if this were a bowl. As I whisk, I'm slowly gonna start bringing the flour in with it. A fork works really well because it's nice and firm. A whisk will work, but they're really big. You'll probably end up spilling your eggs all over the place, as well as they tend to be a little bit flexible, so you kind of need the strength to get it going. So as I go, I'm going to slowly start grabbing some of my wall, making sure I don't ruin any of the integrity of the wall and spill egg all over the place. It's a little easier to do in a professional kitchen because if it spills on the floor, no big deal. But at home, I don't want to spill this. I don't want to have egg all over the place. So I'm going to be extra careful. Once it starts to form a paste, I'm almost there. You can start using your hands to knead it. You knead this just like you would a yeast dough, only buyer beware. It's going to be a lot firmer and a lot harder. So you really, really, really need to use your muscles. All right, I've got a nice thick paste. I'm going to start using my hands now. So the first few little kneads, it's going to look disgusting and like a mess. But once I get going, I'll be able to talk about why we knead the way we knead and what it does for us. So I'm going to make sure it's well covered, and I'm just going to keep bringing it into itself. So the majority of the flour is a little wet in some way, which is great. Now I'm going to start kneading it and use my real muscles. When I knead something, I'm going to push it away and pull it in, and push it away and pull it in. I need to be using the muscles really tight here. I need to be using the top of my muscles on the top of my arm. As you do anything for work safe, you stand square against the table, make sure your knees aren't locked, and you have core strength to help you out. I'm going to start kneading this together. And again, even though all of this is just a little bit wet, this is a lot firmer than a yeast dough, and it's going to take a lot more effort. All of these little bits will absorb as it goes. So I've got my base together. It's not fully done. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna knead it until it is smooth and elastic. One thing I like to do is, I find it really satisfying when a dough is over to give it a smack because it feels really good. So one thing I tell my students, and it's super silly and I'm sorry, but when you smack a nice yeasty dough, it's really soft and it's like when you smack a baby's butt, it's so, so cute. But when you smack a pasta dough, I always like to say it's really rock hard. It's almost like smacking a bodybuilder's butt. And before you ask, I have never smacked a bodybuilder's butt, but that's just where my brain goes. So there you go. All right, my dough is done. It's nice and firm. It doesn't have a lot of give like it would a yeast dough when I smack it. So I'm just gonna move it aside. I'm gonna wrap it. One thing I like to do, so when you wrap a pasta dough, you wanna wrap it and let it rest for at least 20 minutes, up to 1 day. What I find the magic number for me is, how long I like to rest it before I work with it next, is 2 hours. So I'm gonna get this in the fridge to relax for 2 hours. In the meantime, I'm gonna make a quick filling, and then when it's together, I'll pull up my dough, I'll show you how I roll it out, and then I'll show you how to put my raviolis together. All right, so my dough has rested, what time is it? It rested about 4 hours, which is a really good time. I know I said 2 hours is my magic number. I just had stuff going on. So I'm gonna open this up. And I'm gonna cut it into smaller pieces, in about 4. So 1, 4. It's very important I don't let this dry out. So I'm gonna wrap this stuff back up because I don't want this to dry. I'll put it aside. So on my pasta maker, it has settings that go from 1 through 9. When I'm doing a double layer pasta, so like a something that's stuffed, I like to do anywhere up to 7 to 8. That's very, very thin pasta. The reason I want to keep it very, very thin is because once I put the two pieces together, it's much thicker, right? Versus like a fettuccine or a linguine, you can go a little bit thicker, but something that's double, because you're folding it in half and you've got those two pieces together, I like to go a little bit thinner. So one of the important processes of making pasta is that you need to laminate your dough. Laminating your dough, it helps mix it, so it's another way of mixing it. It helps stretch out your gluten, and it's what you need to get a good thing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start folding it in a thinnish piece. My pasta maker itself is on 1, so that's the largest setting. I have it anchored to my counter. I've got my little crank. Got a little dish of flour for me. So I'm gonna put flour on both sides. I don't want it to get stuck in there. I also don't want it to get so wide that I'm gonna scrape the sides of my pasta maker, but we'll see how I do here. So it's gone through once. What I'm gonna do is fold it on itself lengthwise. I'm gonna put it in again. All right. I'm gonna fold it again, only this time I'm gonna go this way. So I'm gonna fold it again, and I'll laminate again. Okay, so I feel like I've laminated enough. It's fairly even. I'm just gonna go through a couple more times at one without laminating. So now I'm gonna go to 2. 2 is significantly smaller than 1, so you just need to be extra slow going through with 2. Okay, 1 more. Looking good and even and nice. I'm gonna go down to 3, and 3 is another big jump from 2 to 3. So again, I'm gonna be extra careful to make sure it catches. You can see as we're going, it's getting really long. Almost, at this point I could probably go one more length without cutting it, but just to show you what I would do is I would cut it in half. I would leave one off to the side now continue on. So I know I've left that at 3. I'm gonna put this starting on 4, and I'm gonna work my way up to 7, see how thin it is, and hopefully I'll see if I can get to 8. 1 on 4. For every single number we go to, I'm gonna go to more than 1. I'm gonna go 2 to 3 turns at least. If I start to have problems with size, like if it gets really curvy or weird, or if it starts to get uneven, I'll just fold it in half and laminate it through the one I'm currently on, or if it's a little too thick, the one below it. And that'll help me keep it back to a consistent size. I'll go down to 5. Okay, so there I am at 5. And go down to 6. So 6 is significantly thinner. You hold it against your counter. At 6, you can just start to see through it. I do have an end goal for size. I want to get it wide enough to fit my ring and then some, but I also want to I want it to be see-through. I want to see my counter underneath. That's when I know I'm the correct thickness. Okay, I'm going to go down to 7 now, and we'll see how it looks, and we'll see if that's where we're going to live or if we're going to continue on to 8. It really does work best with a partner. They can hold this for you as it rolls, but it's not the end of the world if you're by yourself. Just work in manageable sizes so you don't have to get mad at yourself like I do. So I'm at 7. I'm just starting to see through now. Honestly, I would like it thinner. I'm gonna go one more time at 7, and then I'm gonna see what it looks like at 8. Let's go to 8 here. Yes. 8 is what I want. It's nice and wide, and I can completely see my counter underneath. I know it's exactly what I want. I'm just gonna go through 8 just the once. I'll cut off this thin piece here. This can be turned into, honestly, I do a blade cut pappardelle. Pappardelle is a nice wide broad noodle, and they're actually my favorite to work with. But what am I gonna do with this here? Well, this, I'm gonna turn into some ravioli. So I've got one side that's very, very slightly smaller than the other side. I'm gonna make that my bottom, and you'll see why in a second. Let me just get my pasta maker out of the way, and let's open this up. So it looks like I'm gonna get realistically 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 pastas out of this. So I'll make a slight crease where I have the fold, open it up so I can see where I am. And I'm gonna take some of this filling here. So I'll just space them out a little bit. This filling that I've made, it is a mushroom duxelle, and that is onions and, well, shallots and garlic, but I used onions and garlic and fine diced mushrooms. In order to get my duxelle together, I actually, I put mine through a chopper, so a RoboCoupe, or what you've got at home, a little Cuisinart chopper, that works as well. And then I sauteed it until dry. I deglazed it with wine a few times, salt and pepper to season, and then I folded in some chev until I liked the texture. So this is the texture I like. This is my ravioli filling. Awesome, so now I'm gonna take an egg wash, and I'm just gonna frame all of my mushrooms here. What the egg wash is gonna do is it's gonna act like a glue and keep my 2 pieces of pasta together. Okay. I'm gonna very carefully bring this over. And it's very important when you make pasta that ravioli, that there are no air pockets. So I'm gonna start from the mushroom and work my way up to get that seal. So because I want the top pasta to drape over the other pasta, that is the exact reason why I used my smaller piece on the bottom, because I'm draping the bigger piece. All right. Once you're fairly confident you've got all the air out, I've got an air pocket in this last one. Let me try to squeeze it out. Once you're fairly confident you've got all the air out of them, you're gonna take your cutter and you're just gonna very firmly press through and release your ravioli. So here's my ravioli. It's very nicely stuffed mushroom and chev duxelle ravioli. The mushrooms I have in this are, there's some cremini mushrooms, there's some shiitake mushrooms, there's some oyster mushrooms, and there's a few enoki mushrooms. And I just have it pureed. shallots, garlic, salt, pepper. I started with butter, there's no oil in this. I seasoned it at the end and I let it cook till dry. I deglazed with a Prosecco, so it was nice light white wine. And then I filled it in with a chèvre, so that's my filling. I'll continue these up and then I'll show you a plate together with them. Mushroom duxelle ravioli with fresh pasta and chèvre in a brown butter Gouda beurre blanc. On top I have a little bit of Gouda, I have some chives, and I have some extra virgin olive oil. So this is my little plate up. This is how I made my fresh pasta. There's lots you can do. I also made some fettuccine that I'm going to save for my son. But enjoy. Thank you for watching.